Hi, Ben Kingsley here, and I'm really excited to be sharing another tutorial video on how to make your wealth speed go faster. Today, I'm going to focus in on asset speed and how we can make the investments in assets go faster for us. Because ultimately, we all know that it's unlikely that we're going to be able to save our way to a comfortable retirement. So focusing in on asset speed, or more importantly, trapping that annual surplus money and then directing that into controlling assets will really help accelerate your overall asset speed, which ultimately accelerates your wealth speed. So let's cut to the demo as we unpack this story on focusing in on asset speed to increase your wealth speed. Okay, so here we are inside the More platform with VIP and VIP2 as our example clients. We can see annual household income $194, tax payable $47,692, annual surplus cash flow of $32,681, total cash savings of $69,000 in their offset, and they're in a terrific position with total property equity of $593,000. So if we take a look at the property story here, we can see there's their owner-occupied property. They have a loan with CBA. There's a balance of $412,000, an interest rate of 6.12, and current repayments of $3,151. Now we can see here that that gives them available equity up to 80% of $392,000. So it is quite a very good position that they're in. And ultimately what we're looking for if we're thinking about building up asset speed is, have we got some good surplus in terms of household surplus money? Is there enough of a buffer in terms of cash buffer that they've got? Yes. And then ultimately, the income that's going to support the borrowing power story as well. And then ultimately the property equity. So let's quickly take a look at the wealth dashboard now. And so we can see here we've got the wealth clock here, but we're really focusing in on this story around asset speed today. But I just want to remind everyone of what these speeds were. So at the start here, we've got $10.91 as our per hour rate for our wealth speed. Our asset speed, you can see here, is running at $5.74. I'm going to click on that now, and we can see here that that's all of that is made up of the personal property value speed. We don't have any other investment properties. We don't have any other investments at all. And I've stripped out the superannuation speed here as well, so we can just focus in on the true impact of potentially getting a property investment as part of really accelerating both the asset speed and ultimately your wealth speed. Now, asset speed, when we do take on a new asset, that is going to impact our saving speed. So we'll have a quick look at saving speed. We can see that saving speed, net income speed is $16.70, and our current spending speed is $12.97. So we will be impacting that saving speed, because if we borrow money, it means we're going to have less money that is saving up, because we're obviously going to be contributing that towards servicing the debt. Debt reduction speed, $1.44, and then we saw that net income speed a moment ago, and we saw that spending speed a moment ago. So we'll come back to those, we'll remember those, but what I'm about to do now is I'm going to have a quick pause, and I'm going to build out under the financial section here. I'm going to build out by adding another property, and so I'll do that to speed up the process, and then I'll take you through the next stage of this update and this tutorial. So I've been able to load the property into the More platform. So let's go and have a look at what I've done. I've gone into the asset section, I've gone under properties, and obviously this is our owner-occupied property here that we bought back in 2010, and we can now see how much it's grown in value over that time. Here's the investment property that I've put in for our sample clients. They're buying it in joint names, 50-50. I've put an address in for the property. I've named the property, so I'll be able to reference that in future references, the nickname of the property. I've purchased the property in January, and I settled only last Friday by this example. You can see here I paid $780,000, so in today's value, it's worth $780,000. Now you can see here I've put in the gross rent at $27,300. That represents a yield of 3.5%. And there's no other ad hoc income coming from that property. And I put a capital growth projection in of 6% on that property. It's a villa, strata brick in good condition, not a huge amount of land, internal living area, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 living, 1 car space. Maintenance, I've always been aggressive in terms of overquoting maintenance, so 1.5% of the value of the property. Then you can see water rates. Obviously we're not paying for usage, that will be charged out to the tenant. In terms of insurances, council rates there, no body corporate fees. That's what I liked about this particular property. And because there's not a lot of land in this villa, it's unlikely that I'll hit the land tax threshold for a little while. So I haven't factored in any of that land tax. And then in terms of management fees, I've put in there an 8% gross management fee in that particular property. So that tells us the story of the actual property asset. Of course, to be able to buy that property, I'm using exclusively debt facilities to be able to do that. So what we've got here is the original home loan that we took out in 2011, 30-year term, and you can see the current outstanding balance is $412,000. You can see repayments of principal interest, current repayments at that $31.51 that I mentioned earlier. And so now we want to be looking at, obviously this is secured by the asset of Queensbury Street in North Melbourne, and that basically rounds out that particular property with a nice little offset account connected to it as well. So here's the other loan splits that we've pulled together. So you can see here I've got the investment loan. This is going to be an equity release standard variable loan. So I'm taking out $196,000. It's secured against, the purpose of the property is obviously the investment property, but you'll see here that it's secured against the equity that I have in the North Melbourne property, so it's not cross-securitized. You can see the interest rates, the amount, the monthly repayments that I've made interest only for the first 5 years. That's the first loan. That helped with the deposit and the overall 25% of the cost for holding the property. So the second loan can be made as an 80% loan against the new purchase property. So you can see here, rinse and repeat on the same type of property, interest only 3 years, repayments at $32.91. And you can see here there's a professional package which I'll put a $300 annual fee on. It's secured by the Fitzroy property. So again, coming back to what we were talking about before, that this is the 80% lend against the new property, and then I've taken the equity out of the other property to be able to do that. So we'll go and have a quick look at what that story looks like. So we come down here and we can see there's the loans that we've got. So there's the owner-occupied loan, and there's that investment loan secured against North Melbourne property, and then you can see the 80% lend against Fitzroy. If we have a look at our cash flows, we can see obviously we've got the rent coming in, so that spiked our cash flows higher. Our taxes coming down because effectively we are running the property at a loss in those first few years. The annual surplus has come down, so we still have a $5,000 surplus for the year. But good news is we also have this cash buffer, right? So if anything was to happen, we've got a nice buffer here as well that's going to be looking after us. And obviously our total property equity hasn't really changed because in theory we still have that equity available for us around the 20%, and then the remaining equity across those properties. So and you can see here this is the the monthly annual surplus, and then ultimately the yearly surplus. So let's have a look. We're here to look at what increasing your asset speed can do. So I'm going to go to the wealth dashboard, and we can see here. Obviously, the main story here is almost a 20% increase in regards to wealth speed. So if we remember that was $10.91, it's now $13.11 per hour. That is an excellent result. And you can see here the asset speed has increased by around that sort of 95% range. So it's gone from $5.74 to $11.08 per hour. Let's click on that to see the story behind the story. And you can see here that obviously there's no change to our private property value speed, but there is obviously a significant change in terms of the investment property value speed. So you can see it here. That was $0 before. It's now sitting at $5.34 in terms of building out that wealth. So we can see that nice spike. But again, we talk about how it's going to impact our saving speed, so naturally our saving speed is going to come down. So it's impacted that to bring that down to 59 cents per hour. where originally that saving speed was $3.73. We're thinking about the long-term capital growth that we're going to be getting here. No real impact to the debt reduction speed. In terms of the net income speed, remember that is a sub gauge of the saving speed. Obviously our net income has gone up. Why is that? Because, well, we've now got some passive income, and that passive income is coming off the investment rental property. So you can see that's purely where that passive income is now coming from. And so our working income speed hasn't changed, but we now are starting to build passive income through the rental that we're getting on that particular property. And then finally, we'll take a look at the spending speed. Naturally, spending speed is going to go up significantly. So we can see there that's gone up around 83%. And that's because we also need to service the debt. So that's factoring in the borrowing capacity that we're also, those new loans that we've got as part of that particular story. Now, that's how I'd like to round out this particular tutorial, by just sort of focusing on the fact that, the asset speed is measuring the value of the 780,000 growing at that 6% over the next 12 months. Now, of course, we know that if that 6% does materialise, then the compounding nature of that means that that property is going to be worth a lot more. And then so you're starting to think over it more and more and more time. Your wealth speed is going to keep growing on the back of this appreciating asset that you've bought. And that's the big message here for me. So, remember, wealth speed, asset speed, these are only a moment in time as we measure it by the wealth clock that's ticking over. But as those values keep changing, so if you keep going in, say in 12 months' time, and you were to revalue those properties, or in 3 months' time, and you were to make those changes to the valuations of those properties, that is ultimately going to give you a revised update in terms of your overall speeds, and that's going to be tracked over time in terms of as you start to be tracking your wealth tracker and also your net worth over time as well. So there it is, just a very brief overview in regards to how you can use asset speed to significantly accelerate your wealth speed. It does involve leverage, so we obviously need to be sensible about how you go about doing that, making sure that your future plans are really laid out so you don't get into any cash flow crisis. They are all important considerations, what you're looking at here, but this is another perfect example, and probably one of the strongest examples of how you can really, sort of turbocharge your wealth speed by grabbing a significant asset like an investment property to be able to, continue to build that story out. Because the faster your wealth speed goes, one of two things are going to happen. It's the quicker you're going to get to your next financial goal, or the quicker you're going to get to your retirement target that you set for yourself. So hopefully that's been of value. Really enjoyed being able to present this. I look forward to doing further tutorials about how we can make our wealth speed go quicker. But until next time, always remember that knowledge is empowering, but only if you act on it. Bye for now.